Hey guys, welcome to the Mobile Geeks Mobility Podcast. This is Don Dahlman.
Hello.
And I'm Nicole Scott, and I just got back from CES, and we're going to unpack what happened there in terms of mobility.
You have been there.
I've been there.
You have been there. I couldn't make it to the CES this year because I was ill.
Yeah.
But I told you about in our little talk before, I did a kind of experiment. So I just looked through my normal, regular news feeds, which is Twitter, Facebook, a bit of LinkedIn, and to see what is arriving at my doorstep on information. And to be honest, it was not a lot. It was a bit about AI, of course. That was, I think, talk of the town. And it was a bit of 5G and a bit of voice and speak recognition.
And then the CLA launching at the show.
And of course, the launch of the CLA, which was, I think, was one of the biggest things that was broadcasted here in Germany because of Daimler. But if I take away the car, it was AI, 5G, and voice recognition.
So I did totally agree with those. For me, the voice recognition stuff was really interesting, the way that both Amazon and Google are finally going after this car market. Yeah. So we saw BMW with Alexa integration, and they have quite a cool demo at their booth. They weren't really showing anything new, but they're still like, look, it's here. And it has 160 skills. And this is what I realized through talking to the guys who've built the little phone holders, or add-ins for Alexa and Google into the car, is that Android Auto, obviously we know, is a totally different ball game. Or Google Assistant in the car, basically the same as your phone.
Okay.
Alexa in the car, she only has 160 skills. Oh. So it's actually more limited than what the speaker would offer, but they're going for the same style of smart speaker usefulness. So I think it's playing out to be really interesting how this is going to evolve, and I'm very curious to see how useful Alexa will be in the car.
I mean, everybody's working with it. Daimler has a new MBUX version with the speech recognition, which I heard is a really step forward also. I mean, the first version was already very good. I haven't tried out the second version, of course, but it seems to be very good. I don't know. I mean, the good thing about the Alexa and the Google thing is that you can connect it to your smart home, and I think that's why you want to have it in your car.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. That kind of uniform ecosystem is now extending towards the car. Yeah. I think that's very important. Getting back to MBUX, I think it's good, but in Croatia it kept on disconnecting. So I really found the limit of how useful MBUX is, and when it's offline, I was like, this is dog shit. I was really angry. And I'm trying to flip the car over. And so when I was on the show floor, when I was in a round table with Jensen and their head of I can't pronounce his name, the really nice Indian man. Yeah. So I was in a round table with them, and the TechCrunch journalist was trying to pin Jensen to the wall, saying what's your roadmap for the hybrid cloud, or what's your roadmap to make NVIDIA useful online, offline, this whole edge computing, everything happening, on the car. And Jensen kind of was just it's not my announcement to make, but it's possible today, right? And then the guy from Mercedes was like, listen, okay, we've got it in the car, right? It's available in MBUX. Right, and this hybrid cloud where the car creates its own mini ecosystem to draw information from, I was like, it's crap, right? So I kind of put my hand up and I'm like, it's crap, right? In Croatia, it's crap. And so he's like, well, we've just rolled out a new version of MBUX that will be available in the A-Class today, right? It's just gotten an upgrade, and it works offline. So I get into the CLA, and I'm arguing with the guy, and he's like, it works. And I'm like, it doesn't work. He's like, let's go into the car. Right, so I have a video, and now they added a tab that says online, offline.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's actually a tab that will show you what's been downloaded offline.
Yeah, because I think Daimler is working on a different ways on speech recognition, because they not only have the MBUX, which was done with NVIDIA, of course, but they only bought this company from New Zealand.
With the creepy lady.
With the creepy lady that they showed last year at the MWC. Which is kind of also voice recognition, 3D shaped virtual assistant. bit creepy. Okay, it was an alpha version also, but and I think they try to integrate all the things that they bought and or where they have like bought in to now to create like one version of it so that you can use it. And I think it's I don't know where they're heading also, but I think it's interesting because they seem to be creating the only capable version of a speech recognition system against Alexa and Google and maybe Siri.
Maybe Siri. Why don't we just add Cortana in there too for including Siri?
Oh yeah, I forgot Cortana. Yeah.
Siri, Cortana, same.
I don't know who. I just read it online. I think some American magazine just tried to figure out which is the best assistant, and they did some skill tests, and it turned out that the best answers were coming from Google Assistant, and then shortly after it was Alexa, and then it was Siri by distant, and then by a lot of distance with Cortana. I think it made like 60% of the questions or something.
Ooh. So we're going to talk about the next thing from CES that we've talked about this before, and I sided with you because I tend to side with you sometimes about what do they call passenger drones?
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Here we go.
Here we go. So I walked up to the. I understand. They're really big and weird.
Yeah.
And I walked up to the Bell booth, and they had the big 6 propellers, this beautiful cockpit, and I looked at it, and I was like, no way.
Sure.
Right in my head, right? I'm thinking of the sound of a DJI.
Sure.
So I'm talking to Bell, and they're telling me, like, listen, okay, this frequency of our propellers is on the same level as the noise of a highway. So that kind of like low rumble, right, from highway noise, which is annoying.
Yeah, depends on how close you live to the highway.
So they haven't released the decibel numbers, obviously. So if we believe them, let's just believe them, and it's slightly louder than living beside a highway with the same kind of like rumbling. Okay. And how they were able to get this, because they were saying before this were maybe not, it was impossible. But if you look at the Bell drone, around the propellers are these giant guards.
Okay, yeah.
And they didn't need to be that big or that shape. Their primary purpose is sound.
Okay.
And I'd never realized that before.
Still.
So
even if they are much more quiet.
And then the other thing, right? Because I know you have another point about the footprint of the drone. Yeah. That it's really big. I'm looking at it and I'm like, it's like this looks bigger than a helicopter. But actually, they said it was it's 42 feet.
Okay.
Yeah, so 42 feet, and it's a 8 or 10 passenger drone. Bell's smallest helicopter that only carries 2 people has a radius of 38 feet.
I mean, it's not the actual size that I'm like. I think that's going to work. Of course, if you put more people in and have a bigger size, that's fine. And even if you can get the sound down, the noise down, still I would be not very happy if somebody opened up a drone landing facility on my roof, and every 5 minutes is like this rumbling. Still, it's the same. It's the thing. It's with in Germany. I don't know about other countries, but in Germany, with the legislation, you're not allowed to fly very low in cities for obvious reasons, because you have to have a certain height. If something has happened, that you can deploy still a parachute or something, so that everybody is safe. If you're flying like 15 or 100 meters, that's obviously not possible. So you have to have a certain height. So to get up there takes a while. And then you need a kind of clarification, you need a kind of... I don't think that the radar systems are capable of delivering these kind of flight paths in 300 meters, because they are not built for that, to do that. It's still... I don't see it still in cities. Yeah, in Dubai or Abu Dhabi, or connection between Abu Dhabi and Dubai, yeah.
Yeah.
That's 150 kilometers or something.
Yeah.
So that's perfect.
Yeah, no, I still agree with you that I think that putting these types of drones in where there isn't infrastructure right now, I think that works. But I think that in somewhere like Germany, putting in a drone over just building out a proper transit system makes no sense.
It makes no sense. It's not cheap. It would be cheap if you leave out the pilot, but I don't think that you will get an approval for that by any government anywhere in the world, maybe in Saudi Arabia or somewhere, but not certainly not in Germany. Having a drone flying people around without any assistance of a pilot, even if the pilot's just sitting there in case of I have to press an emergency button, but still somebody has to do it, and I think that's why it's not going to work, and it will be too expensive. The ride will be too expensive.
And there's already a pilot shortage right now.
There's already a pilot shortage right now, and what I was also saying, you still have helicopters.
Yeah.
So and I mean, I got spanked on the internet for telling people that drones, like these people moving drones, are like the same as helicopters, just a bit different. Just like a second evolution of helicopters, and people say no, it's completely different. I say, well, what is the difference? Mm-hmm. I don't see a difference there.
I think the biggest difference is the pilots that will be flying these passenger drones aren't like the thrill-seeking flyboys of aviation. They're like the more conservative
former Vietnam pilots from Magnum PI.
Exactly.
No, of course not. But still, I mean, it's the same. I think some developments are very interesting if you see, because they're coming back. Sometimes some ideas from the 20s or 30s even. Mm-hmm. If you look back to retro futuristic stuff. And it was not a new idea to have these kind of flying stuff. I have pictures from the 20s from old magazines where they have like huge airports and roofs in the cities where people thought, we built up an airport in the city, so you don't have to, which is actually not a bad idea because you don't have to have the transit there. But still, I don't think that it may that the kind of drones will take over from helicopters. But you will still have a pilot in it, and it will still, in normal capitals like in New York or wherever, where you use a lot of helicopters, it will still be piloted. It will be still very expensive.
No, I agree. Totally agree. But the dial is moving a little bit for me on passengers. A little bit. Just a little bit.
Let's talk about it the next time we're going to be in China or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, so the next thing that's kind of cool from CES is the Starship from Daimler, right? Yeah. The little guy that's just driving around. So everybody had one. They were all over the show floor, which to me was like a little bit. It's not new. You can't cover it.
Yeah.
But now it's a trend.
I mean, we talked about it, and I'm still not convinced about them too, because I see benefits if you use it on a closed or geofenced area. Mm-hmm. Like if you want to have transport some stuff from in a university, for example, you have sometimes long ways, so just put some books in there and say, hey, little one, bring it to whoever, and it's just driving around and does it. And I can see that also in hospitals or some other place. I don't see it on the road, actually. Yeah, we talked about the manhandling robots and people manhandling robots. And I think that's going to happen anyway. I mean, I know that Starship, they tried out with Domino's, I think, in Australia. I never heard
what happened.
Never heard what happened to that thing. So I think the idea is quite nice to say, okay, we bring your pizza or you bring your Amazon stuff or whatever you order to your house. But I don't think it's not working in a
more practical sense.
Yeah, in a more practical sense.
No, I think that there are certain geographies where it will work in, like Palo Alto, who loves tech, right? Like there are certain really tech loving ecosystems that I think will accept it a little bit more. However, Conti had a very interesting take on how they wanted to do it, and it was a dog, right? So like this dog. And I had a hard time seeing it because the crowd was actually pretty big. Yeah. So this dog would walk over a fallen down scooter, right? So it would walk over it. No one ever kicked the dog. I was most curious.
That was because nobody was.
No one would dare.
Nobody would dare. I think it was the first thing that was going to happen here in Berlin. It was like somebody with that dog. Go away.
Well, but I wanted someone to kick the dog because I was more curious how it would handle, like
you need these kind of if you want to like be people afraid of it, you need these kind of Boston Mechanics or what they doing like these huge ones. And maybe it has to have a weapon on the back.
Horse.
Yeah, this kind of horse, and then maybe it has to have a weapon on its back. So if you go close to it, it's like, go away, I'm going to shoot you. No, to be honest, I like the ideas, and I think you will draw something out of it. You will get something out of it because you learn with every new tool you develop. You learn something, but I don't see that it's going to work. When I say drones are not working, I'm not saying drones are not working totally. I say drones are not working in Berlin.
Yeah.
Maybe they're working for logistics. If you want to transport something, especially in Russia or in areas where you have like vast areas where there's no infrastructure, you just send out a drone to a certain point, drop the stuff up, go back. So that's, of course, it's going to work. And maybe with these kind of robots, it's also going to work in some areas, in Alaska or somewhere. You just send out a dog from Conti and it's just runs through the snow and then...
But, I think you would rather send a tiny tank, right? Like a tiny little Starship tank than this dog that, like...
With a weapon on it.
Yeah, and Hyundai also had something similar.
Yeah.
That they were
had a walking car. Which is like the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. Ridiculous. It was like, why?
Like, just to draw attention, I think is the only thing. Yeah, of course, yeah.
But it's like, who wants... Nobody. It's like, why? It doesn't make any sense. It's like... Yeah.
So the final trend was one that I actually already talked about on the channel is robotaxis, autonomous robotaxis.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody had one, right? And it's weird because I feel like the mainstream media just discovered the word robotaxi or autonomous ride-hailing.
Yeah, well, mainstream media is now... Well, mostly of the journalists from mainstream media have heard the word robotaxi or autonomous cars, and they were like, that's like 2030 or so. But now they realize, no, it's coming a bit quicker. And yeah, robotaxis are a thing. That's why I think that's also the reason why Daimler and BMW are in the business of car sharing. That's the only reason. It's just, they don't make any money with it. And but they know if the moment they have these kind of robotaxi, they start to make a lot of money with it, if it's allowed.
And I think it's also that they're in their shift towards lifestyle, right? Which every automaker seems to be going in this direction. This is kind of where we're seeing robotaxis come in, because like the ride sharing, I think is the way. There was just a study that automakers will actually sell more cars through autonomous ride sharing than they would otherwise.
They will. There are
predictions
and studies, and I can make one up too. But always make your own one. No, but yeah, I can see that most of the car manufacturers will sell some more cars in the next 5 to 7 years, because they also will resell all the petrol and diesel fuel cars. People will still buy a new car because you don't have the new infrastructure of mobility still in place. So they'll sell a lot of cars, and of course they build up their own car sharing and ride sharing infrastructures. So they will earn a lot of money with that by just selling.
We've seen these kinds of autonomous ride sharing platforms, like the one from ZF. I haven't seen that one before. Yeah. That was a first, and they actually showed an app with theirs. So you could have these pre-programmed destinations, sort of like the geofencing concept of airport, school, mall, home, right? So they've kind of built that up. But I feel like, is it that we're finally ready to kind of start accepting it in the mainstream? Because the concept of autonomous taxi or robo-taxis, I wasn't surprised.
I don't think that we're ready for it. There is no legislation in no country. I think Beijing is just... I think Daimler is doing something in Beijing with level 4 cars at the moment, which is like an exception rule, blah, 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 they're working with. But especially not in Germany. There is talk that they want to have taking on level 5 autonomous cars by 2021. So start in the legislation process for that, and I think it will take another 2 or 3 years to adopt it. So I think it's going to take a bit longer until we see it really on the road, and we may see it geofenced in some small areas outside of bigger cities. That's a possibility just to try it out. Daimler is doing something also in San Francisco now. Google is still doing it in Las Vegas.
ZF's going to be putting theirs out in Aachen.
In Aachen, okay, at the campus in Aachen. Oh yeah, okay. I mean there is one running I think since 2 years in Sion in Switzerland, which is done by Postbank, which is or Postbus, as it's called, the Swiss bus provider. So it's going on a bit. So it's I think there's also one going on in Singapore. That's true. I know that
Taipei's working on theirs.
Taipei's working, and I know that in Tokyo for the Olympics in 2020.
Yeah.
Toyota is working on people movers, what they call it now. So there will be certain areas of the Olympics where you're not allowed to drive in. You just have to use these autonomous buses. So it's small steps, but it will happen. Yeah.
Oh, the other thing, the fact that Daimler launched a semi-autonomous truck.
Yes.
I spent a whole day on that one. And
how is it?
You know what? I was so shocked that the guy who was showing me the lane keeping and all of that was like, what trucks are going to be the last ones to get autonomous drive? And I was like, what? Because I believe that trucks are going to be the first ones to get autonomous drive. And he was like, no, the Cascadia, I think you're going to find this super interesting. The Cascadia, the last one was 2007, and they launched this generation 2017.
Okay.
So the iterations of trucks are significantly slower, and the volumes are 2.5 million, right? So this is like nothing. So the truck guys are heavily relying on the car guys to provide the autonomous driving data, the infrastructure, all of this kinds of stuff. Yeah. So we're still right in saying that trucks are going to get autonomous drive first, but only in hub-to-hub scenarios. So because trucking routes are predefined, it's clear where trucks drive. The routes are popularized and heavily known, and they can infrastructure for autonomous drive those routes. So they can put in the sensor for blind left-hand turn on certain things. So, the trucks are obviously still working to be able to do all this by themselves. However, sitting in these meetings, I realized that they're saying the exact same things as the motorcycle guys. The same complaints about the changing the volume of the size of the car.
Yeah, but I think, again, it's also step by step. Yeah. What's going to happen, I think, is in every country, in Europe and in the States, is that they will be partly autonomous. So they start to be autonomous on highways, Autobahn, wherever, interstates. And I think, so you go on the interstate, you have like 12 hours of driving, you just shut on, not shut down, you put it on, the autonomous drive, and then you lay back and then just watch a bit what's going on, that's it. But if you leave the interstate, if you want to go to the hub you have to go, I think you still have to drive for a long while. Yeah. The same in Germany, because if you leave the Autobahn, you have like small rural roads, and you can't do that on autonomous driving with a lorry at the moment. No way. And so the traffic jam assist, that's cool. Yeah. Right? Yeah. That works. I just found it interesting that they're calling it level 2 and not level 3. Because, but Daimler is very cautious about calling things level 3 because of legislation stuff. Because there is still no legislation out in Germany for level 3. So they call it like level 2.95 or so. They found a special certificate, the level 2 from the SEA, whatever group this is. Okay. Right, so this group has basically defined level 2 as everyone else is defining level 3. Like when I was reading it, I was like, but all of these things are level 3. No, they're not level 3. It's a legal thing. It's funny, but it's a bit whatever. I talked to the Daimler guys with the launch of the new or the latest iteration of the S-Class, and it has like all the level 3 stuff in it. They say it's level 3. It's
no. Stop calling it level 3.
2.95. It's level 2.95 now. We call it that. It's it's funny, but it's the same for everyone. I mean, Audi. They have the Audi AI system, and they can't put it in the car because they're not allowed to.
Yeah, so I found that incredibly interesting.
I saw the brake system of the of the truck. That was impressive.
Really impressive. And when you're in the car, you're like, okay, it should already be stopped. It should already be stopped.
Was it empty? Lorry,
no, fully loaded.
Fully loaded.
Fully loaded.
And it stopped from what it was,
like
40 miles to zero in 60 meters or something.
Yeah,
fully loaded.
Fully loaded. I didn't check the back, but they told me it was fully loaded.
Always check. No, I believe them.
Yeah, me too.
They wouldn't do that.
Me too. Yeah. So I took a meeting afterwards, and I was telling the executives all the things the engineer had told me, and their face was just like draining with color. And then I said, "So, explain to me, like why trucks will be first, or like what's going to happen." And so they kind of came back with like all of the things that, like, the hub to hub and the geofencing and all of this stuff. So like in the end, we are right, but we do have this 10-year iteration, 2.5 million a year only, life cycles that are way longer than cars, right? So they're just looking at retrofitting and adding packages in. So it's interesting to me just how these outliers of motorcycles and trucks are not that considered with an autonomous drive, but actually I think will be the first two to implement it really, really well. Bikes in terms of safety, right? Like because nobody's having an autonomous bike drive around. All they want is to help you not die.
Yeah,
right. And the autonomous feature will like stop the bike from oversteering or tilting too much, or like when you're learning to drive, when you're most likely to hurt yourself significantly, the bike will auto stabilize. Right. Okay. So like these types of things, I can see bikes 100% coming out I think very soon, but in the next few years for like a learner bike that a school might buy or something like that, and then trucks with the hub to hub. Cars, we're going to wait on legislation.
Yeah, like always.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of stuff from the CS.
Yeah, I mean, like, no one was that excited about what happened there, but I think there were some cool things to kind of talk about from the show.
Let's see what's happening next year.
Exactly. Well, next we have MWC.
Next we have MWC in 4 weeks or so.
Yeah, just in 4 weeks. Super soon. Cool. Yeah. All right. So, thanks for taking the time to visit us on the Mobile Geeks Mobility Podcast. This is Don Dahlman.
Nicole Scott.
See you next time.
Bye.